at gate C27 by a man wearing an American flag cowboy hat. As police were walking that way, walking towards them was a man in that American flag hat. They stopped him. The victim pointed him out. They checked her story with surveillance footage, and they booked 31-year-old Zachary Zitkowski on sexual battery charges. That's the latest news, weather, traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It is 6 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. That's right. It's Friday, and it's the first day of March, which means that we're beginning the process. If tradition holds, March will come in like a lion and out like a lamb. I'm looking for that. I mean, I think we had the lion a couple of days ago, a little early. It was a late February lion.
He was made an early appearance, but he'll be back, I bet.
Yeah. The breezy, windy conditions. That's right.
Yeah.
In West Texas, where I grew up, you really did live by that motto, because it was about this time of year when the winds would really pick up. And I remember, one day as a young child going out at about this time of year and looking out to the north, and there was a big brown cloud that was moving in on my hometown of Odessa, and within a few minutes there was so much dust blowing through that you could literally not see across the street in my neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, those things used to happen. They're not as common anymore, but I saw one the other day in that part of the world. They still happen out there. There's certain times of the year, if the winds really get up, you can have a real dust storm. So it meant something back for me when I was growing up. But I think from here, it's not thought of as seriously. I still like it, though, in like a lion, out like a lamb. Then we get May showers, which bring April showers, which bring May flowers.
That's right.
And Mayflowers brought the pilgrims. Okay, so there we go. That's the old joke. Let's start out today by talking about what's going on in Trump world. I think a lot of folks are focusing today on the testimony in the courtroom there in Atlanta on a hearing to potentially disqualify Fani Willis and Nathan Wade from carrying out the prosecution of this case and have the case dismissed. That's the goal of defense attorneys who are going up against the prosecutors. If you've been listening, there's been some pretty good testimony in this case so far, but they're having their final arguments today. The judge is asking thoughtful questions. I've been listening to a lot of it. But for me, Steve Sato, who is one of the defense attorneys, really sort of brought it together. What I've done so that you can, I sat through hours of this stuff so you don't have to. This is sort of the best summary of the arguments as to why the case should be dismissed and the two prosecutors, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, be disqualified because they basically misled the court and have not been truthful. And in this particular case, it's important to note you don't have to prove it conclusively that there was, that something happened. You only have to have the appearance of impropriety, which is something that Steve sat out. So I'm giving you 4 minutes here. It's good stuff, but again, it really sort of sums up why defense attorneys believe this case must come to a close.
I suggest that the testimony that Mr. Wade gave and Ms. Willis gave, and I'm specifically dealing now with the timing issue, without getting into anything else, that brought forth a true concern about their truthfulness in being what is required of a lawyer in this state. Do you have to find that Wade and Willis lied? No. What you need to be able to find is that there is a concern, a legitimate concern based on the evidence in this case about their truthfulness. A legitimate concern about the truthfulness, which equates to an appearance of impropriety. Because once you have the appearance of impropriety under forensic misconduct, the law in Georgia is clear, that's enough to disqualify. So, why should you find there's a concern with their truthfulness? But then we go to what is the most obvious indication that Willis and Wade were not truthful on the point of timing, and that's Bradley. And on January the 5th, 2024, at approximately 9:49 a.m., there's text messages that are exchanged between Ms. Merchant and Mr. Bradley. And the text messages go, Ms. Merchant says, "Do you think it started before she hired him?" Bradley, who we now know from Defense Exhibit 39, has been texting with Ms. Merchant for a number of months. This is not the first time. This is months within the communications between the two. Mr. Bradley says, absolutely. Now, absolutely is not a speculative word. That's not speculation. That's a definitive statement. And Bradley then, unprompted, as this, and unprompted is important. It started when she left the DA's office and was a judge in South Fulton. It goes on, Ms. Merchant says, she liked it started when she left the DA's office with the appropriate emoji or whatever one would call it to say it was liked. And then Mr. Bradley say they met at the municipal court CLE conference. Again, unprompted. He's now definitively telling Ms. Merchant when this relationship started.
It's probably important to note here that he's talking about testimony from the attorney who represented Nathan Wade in his divorce. So he would have some inside knowledge here. And it's actually probably a violation of attorney-client privilege that he was having these text conversations with one of the other attorneys in this particular case.
This merchant says, that's what I figured when he was married. And then this merchant says, and we're now talking about a couple hours later, she texts and says, upon information and relief, Willis and Wade met while both were serving as magistrate judges and began a romantic relationship at that time. And Mr. Bradley responds, no, municipal court. Thank you. Doesn't say it didn't start then. He doesn't suggest that she's wrong other than magistrate court municipal. Now we have that, and it's in evidence. And what does Bradley do? He knows that he's put himself in a position that if he testifies truthfully on the witness stand, Your Honor is in a position to be able to find, if you choose to, that both Willis and Wade lied. So what does Bradley do? Look, you were an assistant U.S. attorney. You know how this works when you have witnesses in this situation. Mr. Bradley did everything he could possibly do to evade answering questions. No recollection, couldn't remember, it was speculation. Anything he could possibly say that would cause, Your Honor, not to believe that Bradley knew when this relationship started. I suggest they were clear-cut lies, and the truth is in Defense Exhibit 26.
Well, it's been interesting to watch as the day has gone on. I will tell you that it appears to me that the Fulton County DA's office is just outclassed. All of the defense attorneys have been very good, and I would say that the DA's office attorneys have not been very good. A few moments ago, Nathan Wade and Fani Willis both appeared in the courtroom to hear closing arguments. Let's listen in for just a moment. Steve Sato is back up now before the judge in rebuttal testimony to some of the things that the district attorney's office had proffered.
Couldn't have met in Hapeville. They didn't meet anywhere that would allow the public to see them. That's the reason why they were meeting at Yertes, because no one else was ever there. Remember the testimony? Who else was there besides Mr. Wade and Miss Willis? Both of them agreed. No one ever went there except them. They didn't go to where Daddy was in Miss Willis's house because Daddy was there and Daddy would know. No other prosecutors knew. No one knows except who? The one person that knew was Bradley and Yerty. Yerty was the best friend at that time of Miss Willis, and Bradley was the partner of Wade. Now, the only way that Bradley can walk away from the, I have very little time, so I'll skip that. Let's go to something. Motive. That's an issue. Whose motive in this case is the strongest? Fani Willis, Nathan Wade. Because if they testify truthfully on every point, what happens if the relationship started before November 1st? They get disqualified. Who has the best motive of anyone to lie? They do. Who has the most at stake to lie? They do. Who wants to stay on this case for whatever the financial reason may be? They do. And more. Thank you, Mr.
All right, so you get a good sense of how it's going down there in the courtroom. I tell you, I think that the defense team has made a pretty, really compelling case in this particular matter that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade should be disqualified, and that therefore there needs to be a retrial, which would be a huge victory for Donald Trump. I mean, the evidence seems to be overwhelming. Now, again, they don't have to conclusively prove that there was a lie, just that there is the appearance of impropriety in this particular case, and under Georgia law, that would be enough for the case for them to be disqualified, perhaps even disbarred. If there's going to be another investigation, I mean, they could face disbarment. So, they have made certain representations to the court. And when you're an officer of the court, when you're a lawyer, you have to always tell the truth and make truthful statements to the judge. And having made certain representations to the judge that are now very much in question, we have conflicting testimony. We have a lot of evidence to suggest that what they said was self-serving and perhaps not true. And so if there is the appearance of impropriety, then the case could be dismissed and they could be disqualified as prosecutors in this particular matter. And then beyond that, the state bar could take up the matter and strip both Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade of their ability to practice law. Certainly, there could be all kinds of ramifications. I think they're in real trouble here, and I think this is going to be something of a victory for Donald Trump. And other Trump news, there's you got to stay up on all of these different things that they've thrown at Donald Trump. Lawyers for former President Donald Trump on Friday, according to CNBC, urged a Florida federal court judge to schedule his criminal trial on charges related to retaining classified documents after November's presidential election, saying it would be unfair to have it earlier. Trump's lawyers at a hearing called the new proposal by prosecutors for a July 8th start date completely unworkable and an impossibly difficult schedule for Trump, who is, of course, right now the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. Defense lawyers noted that Trump, who was attending the hearing in Fort Pierce Court, already is scheduled to stand trial in New York State Court starting March 25th on charges of falsifying business records. That's and apparently has something to do with the Stormy Daniels matter. So, I mean, he's got all of these different things that are going on. And you know what? No matter what happens to Trump in these cases, I am of the considered opinion that it really does not matter much to Trump supporters. They look at this as a very organized effort to try to get Trump on one of many different legal ways. They're just trying to find something that sticks because they want to damage his reputation while he's running. That's how badly that the left hates Donald Trump. And the right has figured this out. As Donald Trump once jokingly said, they can indict me all the way to the White House because every time you get an indictment, his numbers didn't go down, they went up. And I don't think anything is going to change that. If you like Donald Trump, then this stuff doesn't matter to you one whit. I don't think it changes many votes. So just a little bit of what's going on in Trump world today. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. United Structural Systems, listen, a good company. They do a lot of things with foundation repair. But let's talk about waterproofing because this time of year, you may find that you have real problems. Standing water in crawl space, wet basement walls, musty odors or floor joists with wood rot, cracks in basement floors, hardwood floors that are cupping. Your house is trying to tell you something that you have a problem with water. Poor drainage. Maybe you find that you have underground pressure that's forcing water into the basement through tiny cracks. Whatever it is, this is one of the things that USS does and does really, really well. So they'll come out to your house. They'll take a look at what's going on with your situation. They will make a recommendation to you, and they will, if you decide to go forward, you can do that without ever having a problem. They will just simply go forward. You don't have to pay a penny till the job is done, and you are completely satisfied. For more information on this, go to USS. They do their best serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com. Call this number, 615-488-7855.
Inmate escapees out of Sumner County on the run. New COVID isolation regulations, and 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers still missing out of Hendersonville. Day 5 of that search. Those stories, 3:30. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Well, look at there. There's Mac Morey. He has all the stories, and he's the star of our 525 breakout segment that we call the Mac Morey Wide Wild World of Sports.
That's
and,
it.
I think that's right. I got to write that down because I keep forgetting. But anyway, you definitely want to swing back by because Mac knows his stuff with this stuff. I was just listening to that promo a minute ago, talking about Super Talk TV guys, and it occurred to me that, if you're lucky in your life, if you're a guy, you'll find some woman who looks at you with the same way that Dan Mandis looks at pancakes. That's a little inside joke for those of you who watch on Super Talk TV.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't mean a thing. So but if you watch on Super Talk TV, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's good. That's all we can hope for, right?
Yeah, that's all you can hope for is that you get somebody who looks at you the same way that Dan Mandis looks at pancakes.
He loves them pancakes.
He loves them pancakes. It was a pretty, nice morning. It's rainy. So just, trying to stay in. And so I get up early this morning, to take care of some stuff. I'm doing these hits on all the other, on the other shows called, the roadway to the presidency. And so I'm making I had to get up early and do Dan's show. And so I get up and then I go back to the house and I look at my puppies. And, the puppies are up and the puppies are, they're all, lively and full of energy, and I'm still sort of waking up and just had one cup of coffee and started trying to ease up my day. So, I had last night, mail came in, and I get one of these catalogs that I just love. It's electronic and musical equipment and stuff like that. And I love that kind of stuff, because I have a little home recording studio. I look forward to it when these little catalogs come in. So I put them on the coffee table. And I said, I'm going to go get a quick shower. I got a few minutes. I'm going to sit down, finish my coffee, and enjoy thumbing through this catalog that I enjoy receiving so much in the mail.
Yeah.
So I go get to the shower. I come out. That's gone 5 minutes. Catalog has been taken off of the coffee table and shredded into a million pieces by two, miscreant bulldogs. Oh, I'm telling you, I looked at it and I said, that's my catalog.
It was.
And it was. They must have had a joyous 5 minutes just ripping the crap out of this thing. It was, I'm not kidding. I took a picture and put it on social media.
Yeah.
If you want to look at my Facebook page, you'll see it. It was absolutely, just destroyed. And and you look at them and they're just looking like, man, that was fun. Can we have another one of those?
You got any more of those? And
so I know. This is a thing that Grogu used to do when she was just a little puppy.
Yeah, you've forgotten about this, haven't you?
And she's sort of grown out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the little baby is a bad influence on the mama. So there's no way little dog could have gotten it off the coffee table.
Oh.
So Grogu must have gotten it off the coffee table and then brought it over to the little one, and the little one just, was having the time of her life, ripping that thing into a million little pieces. And I don't get to have my little joyful moment of looking through one of my favorite catalogs.
Grogu was probably. I can see. My mind works like this. She gets it off the table because she knows that you're not supposed to do this, and then shows
Solo,
to
the little dog.
Here,
so the little
look
dog
at this
gets blamed. Yeah.
And then steps back and then waits for the spray bottle to come out, and just enjoys. And then
I never get when those things happen. I just chuckle, because I go, this is what it is to have French bulldogs. Yeah. They're very mischievous little dogs, and Grogu is a thief. She loves to take things off that coffee table and run with them. I'll lay a guitar pick down. She'll go and she'll grab it, somehow paw it off, and then run and wants me to chase her. Or we have these little orange cloth napkins that we, when we're munching in front of the TV, we'll often have one. We'll lay that on top of the coffee table and just forget that it's there. If she gets one of those, I mean, it's on. I mean, the chase is on, and the little one now is just learning all these bad habits that Grogu had started to grow out of, but now she's teaching the little one, and the little one is like, right in there, if not instigating about half the time. If you have French bulldogs, that 2 French bulldogs is probably about as much as any human being can have. It's 3:30 now. Time for the news on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 48 degrees, a wet day in Nashville. The weekend looking sunnier and warmer. We got a weather forecast plus that traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in the mid-state, 2 inmate escapees from the Sumner County Jail still on the loose. Channel 4's Marissa Sulik gives details.
We know this happened around 9:30 p.m. last night when people in Sumner County got a text from the Emergency Communications Center saying 3 inmates escaped. One of them, Elvis Bush, was found around 2 this morning and taken into custody. We have asked the sheriff's office where he was found, but they have not gotten back to us on that. The other 2, Rutherford and Campbell, are still on the run. Rutherford was arrested last July for multiple charges like attempted second-degree murder and aggravated assault. Campbell was arrested for drug charges.
Rutherford is black and approximately 5'7" tall, black hair, brown eyes. Campbell, also black, but stands 6 feet tall, also with black hair and brown eyes. Both were last seen in a white T-shirt, orange jail shoes. Officials believe these men are armed and dangerous, telling people to lock their doors. A change in COVID isolation rules from the CDC. Here's Derek Dennis.
CDC officials reducing the COVID-positive quarantine time from 10 days down to 5, saying Americans with COVID-19 no longer need to stay in isolation as long as originally thought. Health officials also say sufferers with COVID or other respiratory infections can return to work or other daily activities as long as it's been a day since they had a fever and their symptoms are improving. And speaking of improvements, COVID-19 has dropped from being the nation's 3rd leading cause of death early in the pandemic to the 10th leading cause of death for Americans last year.
And right now in the mid-state, day 5 of the search for missing 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers out of Sumner County. Community members have been requested by law enforcement to search their property twice a day, looking through sheds and crawl spaces. There's still hope. Officials do believe with the cold weather and rain, along with him being without his medicine, is putting his life in imminent danger. He's 5'5", 120 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style, transparent pricing. The idea here, it's a good one. You'll know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. And they're really well known for their smart care plans, and you really should think about this. For just $69 a month, you get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. Now, how does that work? Well, maybe you have a high deductible insurance plan. You marry that with your Smart Care plan, and you get a 1-2 punch that could save you and your family a lot of money. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. No long wait times or crowded wait rooms, and they treat naturally whenever possible. It is also a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868, to schedule a visit.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
.38 now past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Friday, March 1st. The hearing in Fulton County has ended, and the judge says that he'll have a ruling in a couple of weeks. You know, just the fact that they've had to stop that trial to have all of this discussion about the qualifications of the case to go forward based on the actions of the prosecutors is a win for Trump. It's pushing things down the pipeline, and now we're talking another 2 weeks before the judge rules on the matter, and then the case can't possibly go forward, may not go forward at all. They may have to start over from scratch. So a lot of things going on there, but it's over for today. I got to tell you, you never know when you're listening to a judge ask questions. People do this all the time in the Supreme Court. They listen to the questions, and they think they know where the judge is or the justice is. And a lot of times you really can't tell. But my sense of it is the judge thinks that there's a problem here. And I think the evidence has been pretty conclusive that, if not conclusive, at least enough to give the appearance of impropriety. And that's all you need in the state of Georgia in this particular matter. So that's over for now. Judge says he'll get his ruling in a couple of weeks. I want to talk about things going on in Biden world. Again, another thing happened here today. Remember, we hear all this stuff from from the folks in Biden world, and they're all saying that, oh, this guy is so sharp.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
This guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
His mental acuity is great.
This is a very sharp president.
This is a man that's on his game.
Well, I mean, you hear that kind of, and they just go on, and I'm bragging, but then when you hear the president, it sounds something like this.
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words.
I mean, it's painful, right? And so today, and again, remember, we only see the president for maybe 1% of his day, maybe even less than that. Out of 24 hours, we're lucky if we lay eyes on the president of the United States more than about 5 or 10 minutes out of an entire 24-hour cycle. Sometimes it's more, but not much more. And it seems like every time he appears on camera, we find him doing something dumb or missing a step in some way. So how can it be if we're only seeing like a small sliver of what goes on with that president during his workday, that we see so many mistakes, and everybody says, no, this guy, he's as sharp as a tack he is.
Biden is absolutely fit.
There's not a problem.
He's sharp. He's fit. He's always answering questions.
They've got their talking points down. The Democrats do. So here's the latest one. President Joe Biden addressed the Israel-Hamas war Friday afternoon, saying the United States was partnering with Jordan and other countries to provide airdrops of aid into Gaza, though he committed another high-profile gaffe in the process by twice referring to Gaza as Ukraine. Ahead of meeting with the Prime Minister of Italy, Biden announced the country would provide airdrops of supplies into Ukraine and seek to open up other avenues into Ukraine, though he later clarified he was talking about Gaza. I mean, come on. The president has been under intense pressure since October 7th. Terrorist attacks sparked the conflict, with most voters supporting Israel, but the Democrat Party split on the matter. He has been trailed by anti-Israel protesters in recent months and faces calls to negotiate a pause in hostilities. But I'm once again here, an example of how the leader of the free world goes out and makes a horrific gaffe. Instead of Gaza, he kept saying Ukraine. I don't know. There's a big difference between Gaza and Ukraine. Seems like I don't know why you would mix those two up. Now, that comes on the heels of this. As you know, he just had his big annual checkup. And everything is fine. Everything is rosy. Nothing to see here. He's in remarkably good health. Well, ABC's chief medical correspondent wouldn't say Friday on The View if she thought President Biden was physically up to the job, stating that she wasn't his doctor. But Biden's mental health is under the microscope more than ever in 2024. So she did say, Dr. Jennifer Ashton is her name, was asked about her opinion on the talk shows about how he compared to other 81-year-old men. She said she couldn't handle the rigors of the presidency as a 54-year-old woman, but added that there were glaring omissions in the fiscal report released to the public. We do what's called a review of systems anytime we do a physical exam on someone. This includes not only general neurological evaluation, but a mental evaluation, a screening for depression or psychiatric illness, mental illness, anxiety. None of that in there. Cognitive exam, not in there. She said the report appeared to be comprehensive in the opinion of Biden's physician, but if you're a healthcare professional, you know what things have not been in there. The question is, can he do his job? And it looks like he can, said co-host Joy Behar, appearing to encourage Ashton to agree. Ashton shrugged and replied, I'm not his physician, but again, he does have a qualified physician. It was a thorough report, but there are things in the report that are missing. Ashton serves as chief medical correspondent for ABC News and Good Morning America, and she expressed progressive views on abortion rights, so she is someone who takes on leftist views, but she would not put her professional medical reputation on the line to say that the guy is in good shape. The press release came out and said, President Biden is a healthy, active 81-year-old man who remains fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. Doesn't sound like it was written by a doctor. Sounds like it was written by the press office or the PR department. Biden often appears stiff while walking. They said that has not worsened in the past year, and he said it comes from arthritis. I'm just going to say what Dr. O'Connor said to me about a year ago when Biden's physical was released. The president proves every day in how he operates and how he thinks by dealing with world leaders, by making difficult decisions on behalf of the American people, whether it's domestic or it's national security. So, they're going to go out there and defend. But again, here today, in the very small little window that we see into this presidency, those moments when he allows himself to be on camera, we find him making another horrific gaffe. By the way, Democrats tried to pin the same rap on Donald Trump, talking about how he was at CPAC and couldn't remember his wife's name. You know what? In case you don't know, I haven't really talked about it, but that whole concept is absolute. That's completely made up. They said that he called his wife Mercedes, not Melania. Well, anybody who knows what CPAC is knows that it's run by Matt and Mercedes Schlapp. It's their thing. It's what they do. They're the leaders of CPAC. It's a gathering of conservative thought leaders, and it happens every year just outside the nation's capital in suburban Maryland. I've been to it many, many times. I know Mercedes Schlapp. I know Matt Schlapp. I don't call them friends, but they're acquaintances for sure. And he was talking off camera to something they just put up on a big screen, and he was referring to it, and he was talking to the person who had it put up on the screen, which was Mercedes Schlapp. So there were all these stories, and a lot of stories got run saying the president seemed to forget the name of his wife. He wasn't even talking about his wife. He was talking about Mercedes Schlapp, who was standing off stage, and he was referring to her. And so that's nonsense. On the other hand, every single time we see, the president of the United States, we can just count the ways he's going to screw up. Yesterday on the border, we had the two screens up, he was in Brownsville and Trump was in Eagle Pass. And you look on the left side of the screen and there's Biden shuffling around, looking lost, mouth hanging open, mumbling, and looking just like a little lost puppy. And on the other side, you had this guy who's dynamic and moving around and slapping people on the shoulders and engaging people in a very effective way. I mean, the difference between the two men could not be more different. But I don't know how in the world they think at the White House that this president comes across as being vital and able to do the job. You can say all you want to say that he's a vital and vibrant 81-year-old man, but we see what we see, and we don't even see even a quarter of the things that go on in that guy's life during the day. If it's that bad in the moments that he comes out in carefully scripted situations where reporters are allowed to see him and the cameras get a glimpse of him, if he's that bad, one wonders what goes on behind the scenes and who's really running the White House. I think he lives in a bubble. I think he lives in a silo where he gets only told, they're pumping sunshine. The staff is pumping sunshine all the time to him. And the only news apparently he watches is Morning Joe on MSNBC. So he's not getting he has no idea what the rest of the world is saying. He lives in this delightful little bubble where he doesn't know what's going on around him, and the staff is just telling him things that he wants to hear. And so he's I would say he doesn't probably have a sense how bad it is. He probably doesn't know what people are saying about him or what people think, because What he watches on TV and what he hears from the staff is just, it's all sunshine, lollipops, and roses. Everything's good. It's a Leslie Gore kind of world for that guy. Some of you will catch that reference. Some of you will not. It is 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Closing arguments in Fulton County, Georgia. Day 5 of the search for Wayne Rogers out of Sumner County. More aid to Gaza and inmate escapees on the loose here in Tennessee. That's out of Sumner County as well. Those stories and more. Top of the hour. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It is 57 minutes now past the hour. Thank you, Mac Moore. Look forward to that newscast. Listen, coming up in the next hour, I want to mention we'll do a 2024 update. We'll talk about the border. But most importantly, at the 35 mark, 35 minutes past the hour, it'll be round number 1 of Fone Ur Farb Friday. Now, listen, I'm telling you, the Fone Ur Farb Fridays have been really vibrant of late. So we're expecting big things there from you. Looking at the markets real quick, Dow Jones Industrial up 90, S&P up 40, NASDAQ up 183. All screens are green, brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Learn about all the things they can do for you by going to their website, AskBeaconNow.com. 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Busy bee when you need heat or cold AC. And I'm telling you, this is the time of year where you need both, right? Sometimes you need the heat. Sometimes you need the cold. Just depends on the day. They're all over the place. The thermometer's up and down, right? Well, if you find that some of it's not working, give them a call, 615-775-7833. They'll buzz over and get you going. That's right. They'll get you going. The way you keep all of your plumbing and HVAC systems working is to do preventative maintenance, to look ahead, spot those problems before they spiral out of control. And that's what being a member of the Beehive Club is all about. Starts for $99. You get thorough maintenance services on each of your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 49 degrees, a wet day in Nashville. Traffic complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. A Fulton County, Georgia judge has heard closing arguments today in the effort to disqualify DA Fani Willis from the Trump racketeering case. Attorneys for the former president and his co-defendants say Willis financially benefited from her relationship with an attorney she hired to join the case, Stephen Portnoy.
Defense attorney John Merchant says there's a clear appearance of impropriety on the DA's part.
She put her boyfriend in the spot, paid him, and then reaped the benefits.
Fani Willis denies that and the claim that she and Nathan Wade lied about when their relationship started. Prosecutor Adam Abate says the defendants merely aim to embarrass his boss.
It's ridiculous.
Judge Scott McAfee has raised questions about whether disqualification is the proper remedy and whether a finding by him that the DA lied could affect other cases she's brought in his court.
Right now in Middle Tennessee, day 5 of the search for missing 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers out of Sumner County. He was last seen leaving his Shackle Island home late Sunday night wearing all black, carrying a flashlight. Officials had a bloodhound out by his house this morning trying to catch a scent. Still no trace. Community members have been requested by law enforcement to search their property twice a day, looking through sheds and crawl spaces. Emergency Management Agency Director Ken Widener said the 4-day search has spanned 2,000 miles. And there's still hope. Officials do believe with the cold weather, though, this rain, along with him being without his medicine, is putting his life in imminent danger. Rogers, who's on the spectrum, is 5'5", 120 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. In the nation's capital, President Biden today announcing that the U.S. will start airdropping humanitarian aid into Gaza and continue to search for additional ways to deliver assistance. Karen Travers.
The White House says it's still working through options on how the U.S. aid will be distributed once it's airdropped into Gaza and making sure it doesn't cause any scenes of chaos or instability. National Security spokesman John Kirby.
You want to make sure that to the maximum degree possible, you've got aid organizations and partners on the ground that can help with the distribution, the collection of that and the distribution of that aid, and to help us get it to the right people. They're the ones on the ground.
Right now, back in Middle Tennessee, 3 inmates escaped Sumner County Jail last night. One of them, Elvis Bush, was put back into custody just before 2 a.m. The other 2 escapees still on the run. William Rutherford, 40 years old, facing murder charges. Kenneth Campbell, 29 years old, facing drug and possession of firearm charges. Rutherford's black, approximately 5'7", with black hair, brown eyes. Campbell, black, also stands 6 feet tall, black hair, brown eyes. Both were last seen in a white T-shirt and orange jail shoes. Officials believe these men are armed and dangerous. They're telling people in the area to lock their doors. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Good afternoon. It's hour number 2 of The Drive on this Friday, March 1st, first day of March. It's a Friday, That's right, and that means that coming up at 4:35, round number 1 of Fone Ur Farb Friday. Get your thoughts together. We want you to be clear. We want you to be concise. We want you to be cogent. We want you to be coherent. We want you, if you have a sense of humor, to be comedic. If you don't try. And if you think you have a sense of humor, but you're not sure, you probably don't.
Maybe get a second opinion before you give us a call.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, before we move on, let me just say, again, reminding you that we have this big event happening at the Nashville Palace on Super Tuesday, March 5th at the Nashville Palace. Free event. We'll be broadcasting live as results come in on Super Tuesday. I'll be there along with Dan, Chris, and Matt for a night of fun, food, and conversation. So you need to RSVP if you're coming. And I'm getting the impression that this is going to be a blowout thing. So you really do need to RSVP so that we can handle the crowd that comes. If you do that, you're automatically in the running for a massive hot chicken and barbecue tailgate package. You can feed as many as 25 people. If you don't have 25 friends, that's all right. You can feed me. It all starts at 6. Details at 99.7 WTN, brought to you by the Glock Store at Shoot 270, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and membersnutrition.com. And since we're talking about Super Tuesday, time for this.
Watch me.
And we will make America great again.
I promise you, our best days are yet to come. The Road to the White House with Brian Wilson.
Presented by Smith Gun Co. in Lawrenceburg.
That's right. We are just days away from a Super Tuesday, the biggest day in the primary process. We got 15 different states that are up for grabs. And all told, it's 30% of the available delegates for Democrats and 36% of available delegates for Republicans. The states that are all casting their ballots, including the state of Tennessee, are Alabama, Alaska, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, where we have 58 delegates up for grabs, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Vermont. You know what? Where did this come from, this idea of Super Tuesday? We didn't always have a Super Tuesday. It sort of really crystallized in the late 80s, around 1988, when many states decided that, listen, by the time they come around to us and we cast our ballots late in the year, or, in the late spring or the early summer, it's over. And so in order to be more thought of as being involved in the process of picking nominees and having a say in national politics, many states moved their primary days around so a lot of them were southern states that moved their primaries around so that they would all fall on the same day. So this time around, it is March 5th. And by the way, you can't vote early anymore, so if you haven't voted already, you got to turn out to vote Super Tuesday before the polls close. Now, where are we? To clinch the nomination, Donald Trump needs 1,215 votes. There are going to be 1,639 delegates available for grabs, up for grabs on Super Tuesday. So, theoretically, he's already got 109. To Haley's 20, but if he does very, very well here, he could clinch. Same for Joe Biden. He needs 2,330 to clinch. There are 2,827 delegates available on the Democrat side, so he could clinch. So anyway, that's how it all started. The real question, I think, is what happens after Super Tuesday. But let's talk about Super Tuesday itself. So you got to realize that Haley is going to stay in this thing through Super Tuesday, but nobody really knows what her plans are after. And by the way, having gathered only 20 delegates so far, but having burned through about $74 million to get them, I did a little back of the envelope math. You'd be surprised by this. Haley has paid $3.7 million for each of her delegates so far. I mean, she has gone through a lot of money with not a lot to show about it. So the question is, what's her game? What's her end game? What does she want out of this whole process? Is she just going to hang in there and be around in case something happens to Trump? I don't know. She says she has no interest in running as a as an independent candidate. But I read an analysis, I think it's probably pretty close to right, that if she were to run as an independent and maybe line up with the no parties label or somebody else, that she would probably enter as an independent with about as much as 20% of the vote. Because why you say, where does that come from, Wilson? Where do you get that number? Well, it was somebody else's analysis, but let me just give you this. That there are a lot of Republicans who support Trump. Vast majority do. But there are a smattering of Republicans who do not. They might be willing to vote for Nikki Haley. There are more than a few disillusioned Democrats who consider themselves moderate Democrats. The vast majority of Democrats are moderate Democrats, but the party is overrun by those who are far to the left. But these moderate Democrats, not at all enthusiastic about voting for Biden or Kamala, might find her someone that they could get excited about. And then you have the largest group in America, which are independent voters. So you get, those three groups might make up 20%. And here's why I keep raising it. And I know it irritates some of you out there who think I should not raise this. But the reason I raise it is in a four-way race, let's say it is Trump. Let's say it is Biden. I don't think it will be, but let's say it is for argument's sake. Let's say it's Nikki Haley and we say it's RFK. Then you got Westenstein and those other folks out there, okay? In a race where you have four candidates that can pull a number and a four-way split, depending on how things start to fall, you could legitimately win the election with only 26% of the vote. Think about that. Our next president of the United States could be chosen by someone who only brought in about a little over a quarter of the vote. Now, how that all folds out, it's hard to know right now. I'm not sure Biden's going to be the person. I don't know who that person might be. I don't know that Nikki Haley's going to run as an independent, but listen, if you're Nikki Haley and you get through Super Tuesday and you have found that there is a level of support out there, just not in your party, and you have something that might be considered a pathway to the presidency, do you then get in? Do you walk away from it or do you get in? I don't know. I'm laying out here, what a lot of really smart people are starting to say could actually evolve. The one thing I'm certain about as we look at the situation on Super Tuesday is this, that the way it looks today is probably not the way it's going to look when we actually start to cast our votes in November. I think Trump will be the Republican nominee. There's little doubt about that. I'm not sure that Biden will be the nominee at all, but who the person ends up being as the nominee will be, as a lot of people have said, Trump has said, and Nikki Haley has said, and a hell of a lot of good people who know what they're talking about have said that, you could have a switcheroo, that he will not be the guy who ultimately emerges as the nominee. How that all unfolds, still not clear. And then you have, third party candidates, etc. So that's probably what we'll have. So many of the polls that we're looking at now, imagine a scenario that may not be there when we actually get to November. So I want to make another note of one other thing about Super Tuesday. It's March 5th. And when that's over and perhaps Trump has clinched the Republican nomination, Joe Biden has clinched the Democrat nomination potentially. I think, Trump, can then say, it's over, Nikki. You don't have any way of going, and then Nikki needs to decide what she's going to do. Biden could then be, since he has clinched the nomination, he can relax. He doesn't really have to think about anything else. He could cruise on into the convention, and if he chooses to step out, could be the kingmaker for whoever is the person. I also mentioned that on March 8th, 3 days after Super Tuesday, the No Labels Party will have its virtual convention where they will vote on whether to go forward at all. I sort of think they're going to go forward, but it's not clear as who they will go forward with, but they are gaining ballot access, and it's something to watch. So there is sort of our Super Tuesday look. Again, we're doing this update to the roadway to the presidency on all the shows on Monday and on Super Tuesday as well. Other news in the election news of the day. A federal judge has ruled on a new Arizona voting law that requires proof of citizenship. A federal judge is upholding a new Arizona law that would require registered voters to provide proof of U.S. citizenship in order to cast their ballots. Arizona legislators faced accusations of discrimination when they adopted the laws requiring counties to verify the status of registered voters. But in a ruling Thursday, U.S. District Judge Susan Bolton ruled that such requirements were not discriminatory. Bolton said the state has an interest in preventing voter fraud and limiting voting to those individuals eligible to vote. This case, while it is specific to Arizona, may be looked at as precedent-setting law in other places where they are having similar battles. And wouldn't this be something? I mean, really, think about this for a moment. In the state of California, which is the bluest of many blue states, there is a Senate race underway to replace Dianne Feinstein. There are a number of Republicans, but the one who seems to be the front runner on the Democrat side of the equation is Adam Schiff. The Republican that seems to be doing best right now is baseball great Steve Garvey. Remember him? And according to this story in the Washington Examiner, Steve Garvey is now in a statistical tie with Adam Schiff in this California Senate race. So with the Super Tuesday primaries next week, the University of California Berkeley Institute of Government Studies released a final poll showing Garvey with support from 27% of likely voters, followed by Schiff at 25%. Representative Katie Porter has been competing with Garvey for second place in recent weeks, fell to third in a new poll unveiled Friday. Porter earned 19. Barbara Lee, a Democrat from California representative, trailed the three contenders with 8% of the vote. In a head-to-head contest, Schiff would initially hold a substantial lead over Garvey, coming in with 53% of support compared to Garvey's 38%. But in a runoff between Schiff and Porter, the two would start out tied. So wouldn't it be something if Republican Steve Garvey were to emerge out of California as the person who won and beat Adam Schiff in that Senate race? That would be something to watch, and that would be remarkable. Still a long haul as we head toward November, but I think there is such dissatisfaction in this country right now. In some parts of the country, California is one of them, very dissatisfied. People are angry about the southern border situation, and it's certainly impacting California. California has become something of a cesspool under Democrat rule. They have gone from having a surplus in California of $93 billion to being in the hole $73 billion. That's your governor, Gavin Newsom, making his presence known. So, I mean, it could be that some of these really, really blue states have had enough. And this could be a transformative race in the state of California. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Listen, if you're in the market for a pole barn, you need to talk to the brothers that run Stoltz Co., two guys that really know about exceptional quality, craftsmanship, fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that is the Stoltz Co. difference. Now, you can use pole barns for many things. It could be a classic tool or work barn, a garage, or even a place to live. Flexibility is key. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So do me a favor, just go to their website, stoltzco.com. That's STOLTZCO.com. Take a look at what they have up there, and you'll see some examples of their work, and I think you're going to want to call them at 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
An executive action from President Biden and the money news. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Mac Moore will be along with the news here in just a bit. And we got Chris Weber there in the control room pushing the blinky buttons today. Good guys who I can't do this show without. Glad to have you along. And glad to have you along, listeners, as we try to get the work week wrapped up and you get you home safely so you can begin a nice weekend. I haven't looked at the weather forecast, Chris. I mean, are we looking at nicer weather? I think pretty nice weather is supposed to be here this week.
Yeah, it's supposed to warm up, I think. It should be pretty nice Saturday and Sunday. Back in the upper 60s, low 70s.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. I got yard work to complete.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I know. And the all-important Sunday at our house, the all-important cookie tasting.
Yeah, I know it. I hate that I'm going to miss that.
Yeah, I know. And, this is, I think, sometimes when you're married and your wife says, I want to do this thing, you don't quite understand, but you know that the right answer is, sure, honey, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So she came to me and said, we're going to get Girl Scout cookies and we're going to compare them with the proper adult beverage. Maybe with some cookies, it's wine. Maybe with some cookies, it's a particular kind of bourbon. Or maybe with some of the cookies, it will be a lovely, beer. And I'm going, okay. You said cookies, so I'm in.
It sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah, I know. And so we're having a few friends over for the this whole, I don't know. I don't know exactly what to call it. Cookie tasting?
Cookie pairing?
Pairing. I guess you call it a pairing event. So that's happening for us this weekend. So beyond that, I'm out there battling the forsythia. I mean, the forsythia has taken over the area behind my pool, and it is out of control. And I am out there, man. I am swinging the machinery and kind of hack that stuff back and get it under control before it really starts going crazy here in just a few more days.
What about the
what is it?
What are they called?
Gosh, I was just thinking
the
about
trash
this.
trees.
Yeah, the trash trees.
Oh, the Bradford pears.
Bradford pears, yeah. I couldn't think of the name.
Well, there's one Bradford pear that's about to end its demise. It's about to be taken down.
Ooh.
Because it is now starting to rub on my garage. And that's where and so that tree is going to be taken out.
You're drawing the line there, right?
I'm going to take one out. And going to try to do that here in the next few weeks, I guess, get that taken care of. And then that will also then give me a pathway to a part of my acreage that, that I have a difficult time getting to. I can take my machinery through there to mow the yard and
that'd be good.
And my little yard buggy, we can drive. I have a little red yard buggy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to go drive around my property and carry all my power tools in the back. So, that tree gone, I've got an access to a part of my yard that's very difficult to get to right now. So anyway, that's going to happen for sure. The Bradford pears, I mean, I've got too many of them to take them all down. I couldn't afford to take them all down.
Yeah. Well, you just do one at a time.
One a year.
Every one counts.
And I look at you take one down and say, next year it's you, my pretty.
Just tie a bow around it.
That's right.
So do you like the forsythia then?
I love forsythia, but it's beautiful. It blooms yellow. I love forsythia, but I mean, it will take over.
Yeah, you do have to kind of keep it in check.
You've got to, and you can't kill it. I mean, you can chop it and you can chop it and you can chop it and it just comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But it has just gotten unwieldy and out of control, and I can't even get around certain areas now back there to mow. So I've been going out every weekend and chopping it off. And, here in bucolic Watertown, I didn't mean to get into a big discussion about forsythia, but here in bucolic Watertown, we have a burn pile. And you can take all of your brush. So I load it on the back of a trailer and hook up my yard buggy to it, and I drag it over to the burn pile. But you can only go to the burn pile between 8 a.m. and noon on Saturday or Wednesdays. It's the only time. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Like an armed guard standing there saying, "No, you can't come here."
No, I'm serious. It's like a $2,500 fine if they catch you at the burn pile outside of the approved hours.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, they're serious about their burn pile, and apparently, I'm told now with all these new cameras they have, they're watching the burn pile.
Someone put something they weren't supposed to in that burn pile.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I understand that. Somebody was using it as a place to just dump stuff.
Yeah, some tires.
But you take all your brush, and then the fire department goes out there every so often and burns all your brush.
Yeah.
So I have to get up early, load up the trailer, cut it, and then load it on the trailer, and then drag it over there. But I got to get it all done before noon, or I can't. I have to sit on it.
That's right.
So it's been a process. Yeah, I can't get it all done in one day because they won't let me have access to the burn pile. The ways of Watertown are sometimes very strange and mysterious. Well, I was going to talk about some other stuff, but I guess I'll save that for later. Time for the news now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 49 degrees right now, cloudy, little wet, drizzles all around Middle Tennessee, and that'll sustain through tonight. But this weekend, looking a lot clearer, a little sunnier, a lot warmer, highs in the 60s and 70s Saturday and Sunday. Traffic report, weather forecast just ahead, 5 minutes During her briefing today, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying an executive action by President Biden would not be able to accomplish what's in the current bipartisan legislation that is yet to be passed by Congress.
There is actually a piece of paper, right, negotiation, a proposal out there that was done in a bipartisan way, supported by the Border Patrol Union, supported by U.S. Chamber of Commerce and others that you don't normally see. And we have a bipartisan deal that came out of the Senate. Republicans listened to the former president, and they have rejected it. They put politics in front of actually getting a solution for the American people. That's kind of where we are.
Money News, Daria Albinger.
Stocks closed out the weekend, began a new month with some gains. The Nasdaq added 183 points, and the S&P closed up 41, both at all-time highs. The Dow rose 91 points. Dell Technologies did its part to keep stocks in the green, jumping nearly 31.5% on a stronger-than-expected earnings report, focusing its demand for artificial intelligence-optimized servers. NetApp surged more than 20%, also on robust earnings. The company saying it's seeing good momentum in AI. Wasn't nearly as good a day for the banking sector. New York Community Bank Corp tumbled more than 25%, warning investors it found weaknesses in how it internally reviews loans. There's been a lot of attention lately on regional banks after last year's collapse of several of them. One of them, Signature Bank, was taken over by NYCB. Boeing is in talks to buy Spirit Aerosystems, which makes the fuselages for the 737 MAX.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Folks, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path, that they just aren't going to pay off that $34 trillion debt anytime soon. They'll print money to pay the interest on the debt and debase the U.S. dollar. You might want to think about saving with gold or other precious metals. Now, the truth is, gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times. And my friends at Nashville Gold & Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but feel you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. But you can get some advice from professional guidance, is what I got when I went to Nashville Gold & Coin. So the way it works is you make an appointment, you sit down one-on-one with my friends, and they'll answer all your questions and help make the precious metal investment that's right for you. It's friendly. You're going to learn a lot. You'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. "38 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. Oh, look what time it is. It's my favorite time of the week. That's right, time for a little thing that we like to call Fone Ur Farb Friday. Yeah, what's on your mind today? That's what I want to know. This is where we, listen, no topics are off limits. Well, within certain boundaries, because it is a family show. But, you give us a call. Maybe you have a bee on your bonnet or a burr under your saddle or a bug in a place that I hope you never, ever have a bug. Just call us up at 615-737-9986. That's 615-737-9986. Step up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself. Now, look, I heard today Mac Morey and Chris Hand mocking my little intro there, talking about, a bug in a place where you can't ever have a bug or a bee on your bonnet. But really, this is where we let you have, unfettered control of the radio station within certain boundaries, just so that you can say whatever's on your mind. I see the phone lines are starting to light up. I got one more phone line open. Let's fill it up. Come on, let's go. I know you can do it. And by the way, you are in competition with the people who do this in the 5 o'clock hour. So get busy. 615-737-9986. If for some reason we don't pick up in time, call us right back, because it's hard to get all these folks lined up in short order. Okay, let me start, if I could, with Steve in Cookville. Steve, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Steve?
Brian, this case with the 15-year-old young man up in Sumner County brings back horrific memories of a 49-year-old murder case in Nashville. A young 9-year-old little girl by the name of Marcia Trimble was going door to door selling Girl Scout cookies. She was abducted and murdered, and a few days later, on Easter Sunday of 1975, they found her body in a garage that had already been searched once. They found her body underneath a child's plastic swimming pool, and I just hope and pray that doesn't befall this young man, the 15-year-old young man up in Sumner County.
Well, I hope that as well. This is a very tragic case, and the weather has been, less than perfect for somebody who's out. This person is on the autistic spectrum, and the thought is that he has wandered away. And I just hope that they can find this young individual. Listen, it is a tragic case, and your thoughts and prayers have got to be with his family. And we hope that they do find this individual quite quickly, and we hope that all is okay. Thank you for the call, Steve. Appreciate it. How about James in Murfreesboro? James, you're up with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind today, James?
What's going on, Brian? I just got a real quick question, and maybe you can offer some clarity. I see they're arresting another journalist for reporting on January 6th. They seem to be just arresting conservative journalists. Did they ever arrest and prosecute the CNN journalist that was there with the Antifa buddy that was breaking the windows?
No, they didn't. On this particular case, I have studied it a little bit, and I do have a little insight as to one thing that perhaps most people don't know, and that is to enter the building as a journalist, you have to have the proper credentials. As my understanding, this individual entered the building without the proper credentials. And look, I think that there's been a lot of aggression on the part of the federal government to go after people. As a reporter, you're supposed to have certain protections. When I was there that day, I stayed outside. I stayed on the street, and and it was part of my agreement with the company that they would let me go, but I was to, keep a respectful distance and be an observer, and that's what I did. Now, what that meant is I didn't quite have a good grip on everything that was going on as it was happening in real time. I could see certain things from my vantage point, but not others, and certainly had no idea about what was going on inside the building while I was on the outside. This individual, as I understand it, went on the inside and without the proper credentials. The reason I know about credentials, and I believe me, I could spend an hour talking about the whole process, is I worked on Capitol Hill as a journalist. I ran for and became the chairman of the Radio TV Correspondents Association, and that's the organization that works to sort of act as a liaison between Capitol Hill and journalists, and we were the ones who approved credentials. So, I know what it is to be properly credentialed, and that's why I didn't even try to go in there, because I knew I didn't have the proper credentials anymore. My passes to cover Capitol Hill expired long ago. But you're right. Is there a consistent approach to the law? No. I think we all know that. All you have to do is just watch what happens on a daily basis. James, thank you for the call. Probably more than you wanted to know. Let's go to Indy and Hurricane Mills. You're up with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Indy?
Hi. I was just calling to find out about whether or not, really how to talk to my friends who are non-Trumpers about his calculated personality to be who he is.
And I'm not sure I'm following you. What do you mean?
I mean, I try to explain to people that, what turns people off about him is his retribution and his nasty talk, his
what some have called bombacity. He does have sort of at times he can be, and I think we can all recognize that he can be a little bombastic.
Yeah, but he's a New Yorker, and they're all that way.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
And I love them. I love New Yorkers for being that way, and I love Southerners for being too hospitable.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you've been around New Yorkers, you quickly identify that there are a lot of people like Donald Trump in New York. They're just large personalities, and outspoken, and that if you ever been in New York and tried to talk to a cab driver, you get some sense of that right away. What I've also found, though, about New Yorkers is, although they have sort of that bombastic nature and they can be a little over the top and a little too much, that they really are at their hearts good people. I've had some tremendous experiences in New York City where I've been shown kindness by the residents there that I never expected I would receive. So, I think even though they are sort of, you think of that wisecracking New York cab driver or the cop, or they really are that way, but they also can be just lovely, lovely human beings in my experience. Thanks for the call. How about Jerry in Murfreesboro? Jerry, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
I'm just calling about how much, and I know I've said this before, how much the Democrats, they get away with stuff. For example, going after their political opponents, using the IRS to go after people like the Tea Party. They help Venezuela. But Venezuela's crime has gone down and ours is going up because they're emptying out all the prisons and sending them here.
Yeah, you're right.
And this buffoon, this traitor buffoon that doesn't know what planet he's on, what happens to him? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They get away with everything left and right, and nothing ever gets done to it. Nothing ever gets done. That's all.
Yeah, and the problem is that the way you get that under control is that you win elections. And I just got a feeling, I could be wrong. It's just something deep within my gut that Americans have seen that now. And it's starting to register on a great number of Americans. And this, I don't know, just something about what's going on and how people are reacting and how the numbers are starting to shift. This could be a wave election because I think people have had enough of Joe Biden and the kind of nonsense that goes on with Democrat-controlled administrations. Thank you for the call, Jerry. We got a couple of phone lines open, 615-737-9986. Let's go to Rob in Lebanon. Rob, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Brian. On Tuesday, there was a Direct TV nationwide outage. You couldn't get any of the local channels. And a lot of the national channels were hard to get unless you streamed it through the internet. And so when I Googled it, plenty of local TV stations around the nation, Wisconsin, Seattle, Washington, all over, said, hey, don't blame us. It's a Direct TV issue. But I never saw it covered on any of the major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox. None of them did. The only place I saw it covered nationally was the British Daily Mirror. And it's almost like it's almost like, I don't know if this is the thing, but it's almost like maybe someone in the national government said, hey, we have a problem, don't cover this. But whatever happened, AT&T bought DirecTV a few years ago. So it makes me wonder, since AT&T went out last week, and since you're a reporter at heart, I thought I would pass that on. But I mean,
well, that's interesting. I got to be honest, I had not heard a thing about it. I think so many people, a lot of the people who have DirecTV often live in rural areas where they can't get good cable, or they can't have an internet connection that's fast enough nowadays to be able to bring in, streaming services. That's how I get my television these days, is by streaming. And I love it. I think it's the way to go. And that's very much the way I operate. But I don't know how many people actually were aware of it. And if it's the local stations, I don't understand how that would, the local stations cover local news. So it's like the national stations were still there. You still had your CNN, you still had your Fox, you still had, the major networks, I suppose. I don't know, but I don't think it doesn't sound like to me like it's a conspiracy. Sometimes the easiest answer is they just had a screw up. That's the way it goes. All right. Well, listen, thank you for that. I have not heard a word about that one. That's the wonderful thing about listening to our audience. I learn things. Okay, listen, we have to wrap it up here. If you didn't get through, we'll do it again in an hour. And by the way, I think this was a pretty good round. But I think the people who are going to call in the 5 o'clock hour, I think you can do better. It's not a competition, no wagering, but I know. I just think of the 5 o'clock hour, the bar has been set. Let's see if you can surpass it.
Throwing down the gauntlet.
We're throwing down the gauntlet, we are. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Well, imagine what you could do, how you would feel if you or your loved ones had no pain. And Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville can help you find a pain-free life, because getting better and feeling healthy is important to both Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley. They are freezing the cost at 2023 levels. That's right. They've brought back their half-off spinal decompression treatment half off the KT knee machine, and new patients can get a full consultation starting at just $23. You got that on you, folks. Here's what you will get when you see Dr. Mitchell or Dr. Ashley at for the non-surgical decompression. They will review the findings of what they think is going on with you. If you bring in MRIs or X-rays, they will go over them. They often find things that other people miss. Spinal decompression elongates the spinal discs, bringing in blood and nutrition and healing and repairing bulging and herniated discs that can cause spinal stenosis. It gets rid of tingling in the arms and her legs and weakness, stiffness, and pain. Can be really helpful. I've been through it. In fact, I think I need to go back, quite frankly. So I know it really does work. And again, $23 for new patients. You get an exam consultation, X-rays included if needed. Bring in that MRI. Go over it with Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley. So call Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley. Set up your consultation today, 615-246-5009. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today or look up their website, painisbad.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
5 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 48 degrees. Been a wet day. It'll be a wet evening as well, but a dry, sunny weekend ahead. Traffic complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, day 5 of the search for missing 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers out of Sumner County. Channel 4's Michael Warwick gives us an update on the search.
For most of the day, we saw first responders come and go from this command post out looking for any sign of Sebastian Rogers. Sumner County deputies believe he walked away from his home, but in the days since, there have been no confirmed sightings of the teen with autism. Franklin police have now sent in their dive team to help. We saw them stationed outside Sebastian's home this afternoon. Advocates like Desiree Dyer, who is autistic, say searchers should continue thinking outside the box.
Officials had a bloodhound out by his house this morning trying to catch any scent. Still no trace. Community members have been requested by law enforcement to search their property twice a day, looking through sheds, crawl spaces, under tarps. Emergency Management Agency Director Ken Widener said the 4-day search has spanned 2,000 miles. Today, search day 5. There's still hope. Officials do believe, though, with this cold weather and the rain, along with him being without his medicine, he's putting his life in imminent danger. The teenager, who's on the spectrum, is 5'5", 120 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Right now, staying in Tennessee, officials are looking for a man, 25-year-old Roy Knowles, that's wanted for burglarizing Cora Howe Exceptional School on Greenwood Avenue several times over the last month. Knowles may be driving a gray 09 Toyota Camry with Tennessee tags, according to officials. Anyone with information asked to call Crime Stoppers. And they held a day-long court for former President Trump and his lawyers as they determined several issues in his classified documents case. Those issues include the actual trial date and prosecutors' claims Mr. Trump could try to intimidate witnesses. Andy Field with a recap.
Prosecutors telling the Trump-appointed judge Eileen Cannon that there's no problem holding his classified documents trial within 60 days of an election, as the indictment happened long before that. Mr. Trump's lawyers arguing that the court should wait until after the election. Prosecutors say they want a trial this summer and for the judge to keep the witness list secret, saying they fear former President Trump might try to intimidate them.
And back in the volunteer state, a bill to require Tennessee schools to teach firearm safety to students passed the state house last night. Now it's up to the Senate. That is the latest news, traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. It's 5:06 on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for the third hour of the drive on this Friday, March 1st, first day of March. 49 degrees, a little chilly out there, but we have some nicer weather coming for the weekend. So, get out there and enjoy life this weekend. We'll try to get you home safely. I want to start off with a look at some things happening in the Tennessee area. Tennessee political news, all kinds of stuff. I call this the Tennessee Nash Mash. I just mash a bunch of local stories together. And so here we go. The Tennessee Senate has passed a resolution in support of sending troops to the U.S. border in Texas. The Tennessee Senate wants Texas leaders, according to WKRN, to know the state stands with them, according to a resolution passed Thursday morning. That was yesterday morning. Along party lines, the Senate voted to approve S.R. 188, which supports Texas's efforts to secure its border against the invasion of illegal immigration. The language of the bill urges Governor Bill Lee to send National Guard troops to the Lone Star State, although the governor recently announced he would be deploying Tennessee National Guardsmen to the southern border to assist anyway. He visited down there, I think it was a few days ago, down with Governor Greg Abbott and 12 other governors at the beginning of the month. That's what it was. He also committed to deploying 2 waves of state active duty soldiers to Texas to assist with their efforts, according to the press release that was put out. So you had Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson said that he applauded the efforts by Governor Lee. Heidi Campbell, a Democrat of Nashville, she questioned whether it was legal to do this. Here was Johnson's response. When it's an issue that's a federal issue like this, immigration, my view is the governor has the authority to deploy the National Guard when it's the interest of Tennesseans and the safety and security of Tennesseans. I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right about this. I mean, every town, every state is now a border state because of the invasion. And if the federal government is not going to do what is required to control the border, the state of Texas is going to step up, and we should support, whenever possible, the state of Texas. There's a long history between the states of Tennessee and Texas, volunteer state, and all of that. So I'm glad to see that nexus is still there, and that indeed we're going to be supporting the state of Texas. I'm 1,000% for it. By the way, you can say what you like about, the governor. I mean, now we have apparently a federal court judge who has said Texas does not have the authority to arrest people when they come across the border. That's a federal thing. I think that will be appealed, but one way or the other, even if it doesn't stand up, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when the federal government is not doing its job and you're getting invaded and you're having, take on all of these responsibilities and taking all of these hits because the federal government won't do its job? I love that the Republican governors are standing with the state of Texas. I really do. And I think, I'm glad to see it. Say what you will. I'll tell you something. The state of Texas has been effective in slowing down the number of people coming across the border. It seems now that, the coyotes have gotten so frustrated by what the state of Texas is doing that they've moved their operations into other parts of the country. They're now more focused on California than they were. So maybe it has had some impact, and maybe that's good. School vouchers. This is the big thing going on with the state legislature right now. And there have been several stories like this one I found on Channel 5's website about the Tennessee House and the Tennessee Senate. They may be only footsteps away from each other, but they're a world apart on the issue of school voucher expansion. And, you know, the governor's proposed what he calls education freedom scholarships. And so that is now winding its way through the Capitol. Some people say winding. It's not right. Winding its way through the Capitol. And it will end up being considered by the House and Senate. Now, the House version has a laundry list of add-ons, including reducing standardized testing for public school students, increasing state contributions to the teacher insurance policy that can save counties some money. Says House Majority Leader William Lamberth from Portland. There's a lot in there. I hope that our Senate colleagues will support. Hopefully they'll agree with the House version and want to pass that, said Speaker Cameron Sexton. But in the Senate version, it includes things like accountability measures, requiring students who accept a scholarship to take standardized testing to track their progress. It would also allow public school students to enroll in any public school, even if it wasn't in their home county. That's pretty dramatic. Isn't that interesting? So when you have a House version and a Senate version that are so far apart, however, have so many different and disparate ideas, how do you then make that go forward? Well, it's the old school committee conference, where the House appoints conferees, the Senate appoints conferees. They go in there and try to hammer out a compromise that everyone can agree to. And sometimes they get there, sometimes they don't. I know this is important to the governor. And I think I'm 1,000% with the governor on the idea of doing this. So I hope that they can get it across the guideline, the goalpost there, across the goal line, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I want to mention, I think it's March 14th. It's way out there. But they're going to be doing this for weeks, trying to work out the differences. So by March 14th, we'll have the governor on our show to talk about, education and other things as the state legislature starts to wind down to about that time, and we'll find out, where they are. And can the governor get this across the goal line? He has agreed to join us on the 14th of March. Normally, we don't book those things that far out, but that's the way they want to do business. Okay. The governor, however, he's calling his Freedom Information Scholarships. He wants $7,000 per student beginning in the 2024-25 school year. According to the summary, only students who are at below 300% of the federal poverty level, have a disability, or are eligible for the existing ESA pilot program could take part in it. But in 2025, the idea the governor has is universal eligibility for all students entitled to attend a public school. Been sitting on this story for a while, but I'm excited about it. The toll lane idea is moving forward in the state of Tennessee. From 2010 to 2020, more than 600,000 people have moved to Tennessee, and that means more traffic. And TDOT now has the okay to move forward with the toll lane project that could help with the road congestion. This according again to WKRN. On 26th of February, the Transportation Modernization Board voted unanimously start with I-24 from Nashville to Murfreesboro. Boy, is that a heavily traveled road. Driving on a toll lane is still years away. The first phase will focus on environmental and planning studies as well as community conversations. There'll be studies, all kinds of studies, feasibility studies, congestion studies. And, listen, we know this is a heavily traveled corridor in the state, but, we are still years away from this happening. But the process is now underway and moving forward. For drivers, Channel 2 says, for drivers, you may be wondering how much of a smoother commute you might actually cost you. TDOT says exact figures have not been decided yet for the project. It's still in the early process. So the idea here is having these lanes in heavily traveled areas that you would actually pay to use. If you wanted to get there a little quicker, you could pay to use it. And generally the way this works is with something called dynamic pricing. So if it's a heavy traffic moment, taking the toll lane might cost you a little more, right? But you'll have a little sensor on your dash, or it'll read your license plate and charge your account. Some days when there's not much traffic there, you may choose not to use it at all and save the money. And, when there's a real backup, I forget one time in D.C. they were still working out all the kinks in the system for something like this, and they had just a horrendous backup on the regular lanes, and the only way you could get through was on the hot lanes. So a lot of people wanted to be on the hot lanes, and there was a big run up in people who said, I'm not going to sit here in this stop traffic. I'm going to get in the hot lane and pay my way out of it. And I forget, it was something like $99 to use the hot lane. I think they went back later and said, no, we need to make some changes there. And they changed it all so that would never happen again. But it is dynamic, and the more traffic there is and the more demand there is, then the price is up slightly. And then when there's not much demand, the price comes down. So that's the way the hot lane works. And I like the idea, if you want to pay to get home a little earlier, if it's worth you to have that quality of life, then pay to use the extra lane. If you don't, just stick it out in lower lanes. But since some people will be taking and paying for the hot lanes, they're out of your lane now, and your situation is going to get better too. So this can work, and I love the idea. This has very much been in our news. McMaury's been talking about this today. 3 inmates escaped from Sumner County Jail. One of them has been recaptured, 43-year-old Elvis Bush. But you have 2 others, and these are rough characters. One of these guys, I don't know. I mean, I saw the picture. He's got tattoos all the way up his neck, and I kept thinking, well, if it's just anything about this guy that would be, that would stand out in a crowd, well, this guy's got tattoos like you wouldn't believe. All the way, I mean, big, bold tattoos all the way up his neck.
No way he's going to be able to hide those.
You can't hide that.
Yeah.
A good turtleneck couldn't even hide those. I guess if you put on a hoodie, maybe. So they're looking for 40-year-old William Rutherford. This is a bad hombre here. Let's see. Rutherford, 5'7" tall. Last seen wearing a white T-shirt, orange jail shoes. Campbell, 6 feet tall, and wearing a white T-shirt and orange jail shoes. Rutherford was arrested in July 5th of 2023 for attempted murder charges, felon in possession of a weapon, aggravated assault, tampering with evidence. Campbell has been in since October 11th of 2023 for theft, felon in possession of a weapon, and numerous drug charges. And so, these are bad guys. And so they I don't know how they got out. That's the question I always have. You got to jail. Your only job is to keep people behind those bars. How did they get out? I want more information on that. But one way or the other, if you live in Sumner County, lock your doors, be very cautious. And if you see suspicious activity, they ask that you pick up the phone and call the Sumner County Emergency Communications Center. Or, I think if I just saw somebody, I'd call 911. I think that's what I'd do. But Sumner County, you got a couple of bad hombres on the loose. They escaped around 9:15 last night, and one of them has been captured, 2 still on the lam, as they say. But I mean, if you see a weird guy in orange shoes with a lot of tattoos on his neck, that's the guy, that will stand out.
Chances are you got him.
Yeah, chances are that's the guy. All right. 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
The abortion pill being made available in some states, 2 inmates on the loose, and Boeing may be acquiring Spirit. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
It's time once again for the smash runaway hit, Mac Morey's Wide, Wild World of Sports. And now, here is the host of our program, the incomparable Mac Morey.
Oh, yeah. Cannot be compared to.
No, that's right. You're incomparable. All right.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
It's better than incompetent, though, right?
That's true.
That's true.
He's the incompetent. No, that wouldn't work because you're anything but incompetent. You are incomparable. So let's go over whatever's. I didn't get the memo, so I'm
bad at the memo.
The memo, really, we need to get better about the memo.
Okay, I can do better about the memo.
The daily
I'm
memo,
sorry.
it would be very helpful. I'm tired of saying I don't have the memo, but I trust you. So tell me what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, well, we've been talking some combine, off-season stuff. Amongst all of those things, owners meet during this off-season. Rule changes happen to both college and NFL football, and we're starting to get some leaks out about what some rule changes may be ahead. We'll start with college football because really these are some big ones here, and there's more changes happening sooner in college, so we'll start with that. Even though the NFL change, I could get riled up about that, and I will here in a minute. We'll go with college first.
Watch out. He's going to get riled.
It's coming. So 3 things that are coming to college football. It's expected to add these 3 things next season. The 3 things, we'll just kind of dive into them, but first I'll name them all. Helmet communication, tablets on the sideline and during halftime, 2-minute warning. College football has never had a 2-minute warning. It's always been in the NFL. That will be coming to college football. That first one, though, helmet communication. I've gone on tangents about this on my podcast, Behind the Box Score, wherever you find your podcasts. They have this in some high schools. I mean, Texas high schools, you go down to Florida, there's guys sitting in the press box, coaches talking to their quarterbacks, talking to their Mike linebacker, captain of the defense, before the play starts, getting that play call in. I mean, this is a huge part of becoming a pro, becoming a captain, becoming a good communicator on the football team in the heat of battle when you've only got 20 seconds, the play's about to start, and you're communicating with your defense, you're communicating with your offense. If you're a quarterback, kind of gauging what the line of scrimmage needs to look like, making audibles, adjustments, that communication in those 20, 25 seconds or whenever they cut it off with your head coach up there in the press box is vital to becoming a pro and to becoming a leader who's adept at, on-the-fly communication. And the fact that they don't have this yet in college football, I just think is a shame. I'm glad that they're adding that.
I always thought it was very strange that they didn't have any of the helmet stuff.
Well, and we had this huge, fiasco with the sign stealing thing in Michigan. The only reason there are huge signs in college football is because we don't have a mic inside the helmet. Let's get rid of these weird signs.
I'll be glad to get rid of those. I hate seeing that on the sideline. Of course, teams get so creative with their, they'll have like a Jerry Seinfeld's head or something. It's like, well, what is that supposed to mean? It'll mean some sort of signal.
Some sort of play call, some sort of audible adjustment. Yeah, Seinfeld's head next to Dolly Parton next to a McDonald's shake means 3 go routes. It's just like, no, let's communicate this. Come on, let's be professional. You're not going to the NFL. This is not helping you learn, getting to the next level. So I'm excited about that. Same thing with the tablets, too. I mean, these guys are in the NFL, they're going straight to the sideline after throwing an interception and looking at the tape live and saying, I thought
that's what happened. Yeah, that's how. Yeah,
that's what happened.
And that's very helpful. You're right. Okay.
And then 2-minute warning. I honestly, I could do some research into why the 2-minute warning was even created. I've got a little bit of a inkling of inclination that it could be just for another commercial space, honestly.
Good possibility.
Another ad time, another easy place to put some commercials. Either way, I'm okay with a 2-minute warning. In the NFL, we've got to change. This is not going to happen next season. It may not be even in 2025, but we could see the end of the chain gang here coming very soon to the NFL.
I wondered about this because honestly, they can put a chip in the football.
Yes, exactly.
And you can track that thing down to a quarter inch.
Exactly where it needs to be instead of just 2 dudes coming with a chain. I mean, we had a few years ago in a primetime football game, a weird spot, and the white hat brings out a note card and starts to put the note card in between the ball. No. We can fix this. So the NFL has tested optical tracking in 2 stadiums and the Super Bowl last season for line-to-gain rulings. The technology isn't expected to be ready for rollout in 2024, and it's going to require a vote from those owners. But that future's coming. That's going to happen. That seems pretty inevitable.
All right, how would that work, though? How would the refs know where to place the ball? Like, what would be their visual on the field to say, okay, it goes right here?
I imagine there's someone in the booth up top with the screen in front of them with that live optical tracking.
And they go, okay, go up a few more inches.
They say, yeah, that's going to be hard. Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's going to become the same thing, just communicate. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how they streamline that. That's going to be interesting.
Yep.
But I read that in some football games, I guess sort of maybe they've been testing the chip is already in some of the footballs. They've been sort of slipping the little tracking chip into the football to test out some of this stuff that just hasn't gotten much attention.
Exactly, yeah. Testing out the technology, but also, Brian, testing out, if this affects the football, if it affects the weight, affects the flight. Can quarterbacks feel this? Is this going to mess up how they
Apparently
train?
it's pretty small.
Yeah,
and pretty
exactly.
light.
It's minuscule.
Yeah. All right, so that's pretty interesting stuff. Well, we'll leave it right there. Time to take off that snazzy sports hat and put on your news hat because it's time now for the news. And just ahead of Fone Ur Farb Friday, it's time for the news now on Super Talk 99.7.
.5:30, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 48 degrees in Nashville. A rainy, wet day, but looking like we got clear, sunny skies ahead this weekend. We got a weather forecast, traffic report in 5 minutes. President Biden today praised 2 major pharmacy chains for making the abortion pill available in some states. Andy Field.
President Biden encouraging all pharmacies to follow CVS and Walgreens, both saying they'll start dispensing the abortion pill mifepristone this month. Mr. Biden saying it's an important milestone in ensuring access to the drug. Walgreens saying it will start providing the pill in some of its New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, California, and Illinois pharmacies. Both chains say they'll expand to other states where it's legal.
Right now in Middle Tennessee, 3 inmates escaped Sumner County Jail last night. One of them, Elvis Bush, was put back into custody just before 2 a.m. this morning. The other 2 escapees still on the run. William Rutherford, 40 years old, facing murder charges. Kenneth Campbell, 29, facing drug charges. Officials believe these men are armed and dangerous, telling people to lock their doors. Boeing announcing it's discussing buying the subcontractor at the center of quality control discussions surrounding the Alaska Airlines door plug incident. Dave Packer.
About 20 years ago, Boeing spun off its division that builds airline fuselages and other parts. But now Spirit Aerosystems is under intense scrutiny after the door plug it put in place blew off a Boeing 737 MAX 9 flown by Alaska Airlines. That cloud hanging over the airframe maker has sent its share price down from $100 5 years ago to about $30. Now in a statement, Boeing confirming that it's begun preliminary talks to reacquire Spirit Aerosystems, saying a reintegration would strengthen safety and improve quality.
And that is the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It's just moments away from the second round of Fone Ur Farb Friday, 615-737-9986. Get on the line, get started. In the meantime, let me tell you about Eurofix. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Well, I'd like, listen, the people say, oh, it'll be ready at 4 o'clock, everything. Just come by here, it'll be ready. And then you get there and it's not ready. People are tired of that stuff. And if you've had that kind of experience at a vehicle repair shop, why don't you try Eurofix? Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's supposed to be ready, so you're not wasting your time. Now, Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty, plus a free loaner car with every appointment, so make sure you call ahead. Loaner cars are very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it is reliable. Eurofix, family-owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
All right, here we go again, round number 2. Now, listen, I think the 4 o'clock hour folks were pretty good, but I think you 5 o'clock folks can do better. I'm counting on you. The bar has been set. It's time for a little thing we like to call Fone Ur Farb Friday. All right, here we go. 615-737-9986. If you got a bee in your bonnet, you got a burr under your saddle, you got a bug in a place that I hope you really never ever have a bug. Get on the hotline, 615-737-9986, and express yourself. That's right. Climb up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and have your say. This is the way we do it and so, look, there's no limits. We love first-time callers. So, get busy, 615-737-9986. Again, those 4 o'clock hour people, they were good. They were pretty good. But I think the 5 o'clock hour can top that. And listen, right now I got a lot of phone lines open. Maybe I need to, pay. Come on, folks. We just have a few minutes. Oh, there you come. All right, there you are. I woke you up. This only works if you participate. 615-737-9986. All right, so we are getting ready for caller number one. Are we ready for one? All right, let's go to Al in Sladen. Sladen, yes, Al. Hang on. Al, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind today?
Well, I was wondering update about the fires in Amarillo, how close they got to the nuclear place.
Yeah.
And then I was going to ask you, Nikki Haley thinks she's surging. I think she is submerging, like a depth charge to a German U-boat.
Yeah, listen, she's not going to do well on Super Tuesday. I don't think so at all. In fact, I think Trump may clinch the nomination. And let me tell you about the fires, though. As I have expressed on this program, it certainly catches my attention because I have a very special place in my heart for the Texas Panhandle. My first television job was in Amarillo, and I became at one point had the best job I ever had in my life. I was an area reporter, and I traveled all over that particular part of the country every day in a helicopter, and so I know these little towns. When they talk about Stinnett and Fritch and Pampa and Borger and Canadian and some of these places that are just, being devastated by the fires, I know these towns. I've been there. I spent many years traveling the back roads of the Texas Panhandle. 850,000 acres. I think that comes to something like 1,700 square miles, largest fire that they've ever had. And, some towns had to be evacuated. Some people lost their homes. My sister still lives in Amarillo, has not been impacted by the fire. Her family has a ranch, not far from Amarillo. And it's it is in an area that has not been impacted, thank goodness. But, I mean, one of the big things that's happened there that's so dramatic and so tragic is the loss of cattle. I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of cattle burned to a crisp. It's just so sad. So, the folks in the Texas Panhandle, they're good people, really good people. And it hurts me when I see those pictures of places that I know so well. Thanks for the call, Al. Appreciate it. Boy, now you're all out there. Let's see what we got. Bobby in Murfreesboro, you're up next on the drive. Bobby, what's on your mind?
Hey, good evening. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. I wanted to talk to you about the toll road.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you've been through Atlanta, but I think it's not going to help us here in Middle. Now, I've been through the toll roads out there in Atlanta, and I noticed during rush hour traffic, when it's all backed up for hours when you're outside of Atlanta, that hardly anybody uses them. I don't know if it's because of the cost, but I think they need to focus more on solving our problems, maybe add a couple lanes, but I just don't think a toll road is going to help. I wait to listen to your thoughts. Thanks, Brian.
Well, I mean, I can only tell you that I saw what it did in the D.C. area. I watched, they were controversial when they first went in, but then when I started to drive, and I used to have a hell of a commute every day, and if I wanted to get home a little earlier, it was worth 75 cents for me to get on that toll road and take and to get on it. Some people may choose not to use them, and that's fine. But the more people that use the toll roads, the better it gets for you in the other lanes. So I don't know. It doesn't cost a lot because generally the cost is taken on by somebody who will then run the toll road and take a percentage of the profits. But they'll build the road and manage the road and handle all of the billing and all of that. So I don't know. I like private enterprise solutions to problems, and I think it's worth a try. I do think it's worth a try. Some people, though, may just choose to be, I don't want to spend that 75 cents today and choose not to take them. Mason in Smyrna. Hey, Mason, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Mason?
Yeah, I want to talk about the roads here in Nashville. One of the things that I've noticed as I travel quite a bit, and Tennessee has great roads, especially the interstates. And the one thing that I had noticed is this winter they did an excellent job on staying ahead of the weather. Unfortunately, I think what happened was I think the brine they were using has put potholes in those things, and I want to just to say for the people that are out there working on the roads and doing all the designing for that, great job. Unfortunately, this did happen, so we got to figure out a way to execute to get all these potholes fixed or roads fixed. We love you. You're doing a great job. Just keep going.
All right. Words of encouragement from Mason and Smyrna. Let's move on to Gary in Portland. Gary, hello. You're on the drive with Brian Wilson. What's on your mind today? Gary? Is Gary there? I bet Gary's listening on the stream. I don't know. We'll move on. We tried, Gary. Chad in Lebanon, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Chad? Hello, Chad.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
Good. I have a question for you. I hear you say a lot about Biden may not be the guy, and I don't disagree with you by any means. But I'm just trying to figure out, because I don't know what the process would look like. So let's say July the 4th, he decides, I'm no longer running. How do they replace him, and how does that work? And I'll hang up and listen.
I'll tell you, there's a couple of things that could happen. I mean, as I pointed out, in 1968, LBJ got out on March 31st, and then there were already other people in the race. So, they were names that people recognized at the time. And so they gave her, but Hubert Horatio Humphrey was LBJ's vice president, and he decided he was going to run. And they came up with some creative ideas about how to put people in place. He couldn't get his name on some ballots, so people stood in for him. And it was unusual. But I would say this, that probably when that happens, if it doesn't happen, right after Super Tuesday, which I think it probably won't, he could go to the convention. Biden could go to the convention with the nomination in his pocket and then say, you know what, in the recent days, I've come to understand that many people just don't think I have what it takes, and I am missing a step. And because I'm facing some health issues and I want Democrats to win. In a selfless act, I will step down, and then it's a wide open convention. And he can have a lot of say in who the nominee is because he would already have the delegates in his pocket. So, he could be the kingmaker, if you will. I think he would be stupid to, get behind Kamala Harris. They probably need to find somebody. But it'd be a wide open process, widely covered. Really unusual. You hardly ever go to a convention where news is truly made. And, it would be something to watch. So they would come out of that convention with a new nominee and, to see whether Democrats would coalesce around that individual in a way that they don't seem to be coalescing around Joe Biden. But it could happen in a lot of different scenarios. I don't have any crystal ball here. It's just a gut feeling that I have that Democrats are not going to allow him to lose this election, and he's headed toward a loss as it stands right now. All right, let's see. Let's go to Mike. Have we already talked to Mike, or is this a different one? Mike, you're on with Brian on the drive. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is different, Mike. I just want to give a shout-out to Commissioner Butch Ely of TDOT and our governor on the choice lanes, and the $3 billion is being invested to improve our road system. And, the help truck drivers, we've got more of those. And I also appreciate your keen insight with your background in journalism to give a fair assessment of and your experience of what's going on, because this corridor of I-24 to Nashville is probably one of the worst in the state. So I just want to give a shout out to the great job the staff does, and a lot of times they don't get much recognition.
All right, Mike, thank you for that. Again, words of praise. Well, we have words of affirmation today. That's nice. We'll close it out with Dean in Franklin. Dean, you're on with Brian on the drive. Dean, what's on your mind?
Yeah, yes, Ryan. I have not heard any of the news commentators
mention where we get rare earth. Rare earth is used in every electronic device, every chip in cars and appliance and so on, and we get 95% of our rare earth from red China. And that's very important. If they'd cut off rare earth, we'd be a lot of trouble here in the United States.
I think you're right, and I think that there have been some people that have noted this, and they're trying to find other sources because you're right. We could get into a real disagreement with China over Taiwan, and if they were to shut down, certain things that are coming to this country that we've come to rely upon, it would be really bad. I think we do need to, from a national security standpoint, find other sources for this stuff if it's possible. Wouldn't it be great if we could find some here in our country? But that requires mining, and mining is something that Democrats frown upon. I don't know, but you're right. You raise a very, very good point. Well, that's pretty good. I think we had two great rounds. I would call it a tie today, a tie between the 4 o'clock and the 5 o'clock. I know that's dissatisfying. Somebody wants to be the winner.
Yeah, no one likes a tie.
Nobody likes a tie. You want me to flip a coin?
Well, if that's how you're going to settle it, I guess.
Well, I don't have a coin. But you have a coin? I don't have a coin.
I have no change.
All right. Well, then we're still going to call it a tie. 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. All right, the folks at Beacon, they have a message for you. You're not sure where to start with your retirement planning? Well, you're not alone. Start with Beacon Capital Management's free, fast, and easy retirement savings calculator. It will help you visualize your financial future and help you take the next steps to reach your goal. To find this, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. You may want a deeper dive on your finances, and if you have some real big questions, why don't you reach out to the folks at Beacon at this number, 615-488-9303. They will talk to you, gather some information, get back with you, make some recommendations. But here's the thing. You don't have anything to lose here except for the potential worry that you have. So that number is 615-488-9303. And at the end of the process, you'll be able to rest a lot easier knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
6 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 48 degrees, and it's been a wet, drizzly day in Music City. Got a clear weekend ahead, though. We'll tell you about it in the weekend weather forecast, plus that traffic report headed your way in 5 minutes. Right now in the Mid-State, day 5 of the search now for missing 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers out of Sumner County. Channel 4's Michael Warwick gives us an update on the search.
For most of the day, we saw first responders come and go from this command post out looking for any sign of Sebastian Rogers. Sumner County deputies believe he walked away from his home, but in the days since, there have been no confirmed sightings of the teen with autism. Franklin police have now sent in their dive team to help. We saw them stationed outside Sebastian's home this afternoon. Advocates like Desiree Dyer, who is autistic, say searchers should continue thinking outside the box.
Officials had a bloodhound out by his house this morning trying to catch a scent. Still no trace of the autistic teenager. Community members have been requested by law enforcement to search their property twice a day, looking through sheds, crawl spaces, under any tarps, and to notify law enforcement if anything's out of the ordinary. Emergency Management Agency Director Ken Widener said through 4 days of the search, they spanned 2,000 miles. There's still hope, but officials do believe that with this cold weather and more rain, along with him being without his medicine, is putting his life in imminent danger. Rogers is 5'5", 120 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. More evacuations could be in store for residents in the path of raging wildfires in Texas, hitting the heart of cattle country. At least 2 deaths are being blamed on the wildfires and between 400 and 500 structures destroyed. Michelle Franzen.
Fire crews got a break from the winds Friday that have fueled deadly wildfires in the Texas Panhandle. The Smokehouse Fire, now the state's largest on record, has charred more than 1 million acres. At a briefing, Governor Greg Abbott on the destruction to homes, livestock, and livelihoods.
The largest fire in the history of the state of Texas cut a path so large that it exceeds the size of some states in our country.
Officials warned those whipping winds could lead to more evacuations this weekend.
In crime right now in Tennessee, officials looking for a man. 25-year-old Roy Knowles is wanted for burglarizing Cora Howe Exceptional School on Greenwood Avenue several times over the last month. Knowles may be driving a gray 2009 Toyota Camry with Tennessee tags, according to officials. Anyone with information asked to call Crime Stoppers. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on the fourth and final hour of our program on this Friday, March 1st. That's right. We're ready to get this show done and begin the weekend. If you're driving home, we'll give you a bit more information, cover some ground that we haven't yet covered, and bring you some news and information so you can start your weekend saying, well, at least I know where we are in the world today. I got my debrief on the way home. I mean, if you give me, a lot of people, drive 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes to get home. You listen to this show 25, 30 minutes, I guarantee you're going to learn something.
You'll pick up a nugget or two.
There'll be a nugget or two. That's right. Now, the way that and then I always hear from people, why didn't you cover this? Well, chances are I did cover it, but you got to listen to all 4 hours if you really want the comprehensive download. Or you could just listen to it later because, we put this on the web.
That's right.
And when the show is over, we post it right there on our Facebook platform and all our other platforms, or at Super Talk 99.7.
Yeah, you can watch it at your leisure.
And you can watch it, and a lot of people do that.
Listen.
Yeah, you could just listen. Congressman Green, who was on our show yesterday making the announcement that he was going to stay in the race after all, posted a big clip out of our program on his website saying, here's my latest appearance with Brian Wilson at Super Talk 99.7. It was then, as soon as I saw the video, that I began to regret my clothing choice for the day.
Oh, yeah, you were wearing that hoodie.
I was wearing that hoodie.
Bright hoodie.
And I had bright green hoodie, and I had an ugly cap on that clashed with the hoodie. I was a sight, I'll tell you. So, and here it is being seen by a much wider audience than normally watches because he's sent it out to all of the people who follow him on social media. And one thing that I learned is when that happens is that, we get a glimpse into what it is to be an elected official. Because he'll tag me on it, right? And that means that anybody responds to him, I also see that response.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, being an elected official is no easy thing because, you got your supporters in the state of Tennessee. It's a Republican state, but there are detractors on the other side who are vicious. It's ugly sometimes, the nasty ugliness of those who will attack you for nothing at all, just because you are who you are. And so, you get some sense of it. It makes me glad that I never decided to go into public office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really did. All right, so what's going on in the world around you? Here we go. Fani Willis may well be disqualified, may well lose her law license. Nathan Wade, same thing. And that whole trial that's going over in Fulton County may get a do-over. They may have to start again on it all. Because there's a pretty good case that's been built that they lied. Well, first of all, that they had a relationship and that improper relationship. They were in a relationship before she hired him to prosecute Trump. And then they have made statements that have sort of looked to be untrue to the court. And you can't lie to the court, right? So this thing has been going on for a couple of weeks now, trying to figure out, what all the evidence is. Fani has testified. Nathan Wade has testified. This guy named Bradley, who's the attorney for Nathan Wade, his divorce attorney, has testified. And today they were doing closing arguments before the judge. Now, it was pretty compelling stuff. It went on for hours and hours and hours. But I have taken a 4-minute clip here that will sort of give you the best part of the arguments being made by defense attorneys as to how Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have made a grievous error, that they should be taken away from this case, and that the larger argument is that we should start over again because the first trial has been compromised. Here is Steve Sato, who is a defense attorney on one of these particular matters, and making his summation to the judge.
I suggest that the testimony that Mr. Wade gave and Ms. Willis gave, and I'm specifically dealing now with the timing issue, without getting into anything else, that brought forth a true concern about their truthfulness in being what is required of a lawyer in this state. Do you have to find that Wade and Willis lied? No. What you need to be able to find is that there is a concern, a legitimate concern based on the evidence in this case about their truthfulness. A legitimate concern about the truthfulness, which equates to an appearance of impropriety.
Now, let me stop you there for a moment because that's important. You don't have to prove conclusively that it happened. Only that there is the appearance of impropriety. That is the standard in the state of Georgia.
Because once you have the appearance of impropriety under forensic misconduct, the law in Georgia is clear. That's enough to disqualify. So why should you find there's a concern with their truthfulness? But then we go to what is the most obvious indication that Willis and Wade were not truthful on the point of timing, and that's Bradley. And on January the 5th, 2024, at approximately 9:49 a.m., there's text messages that are exchanged between Ms. Merchant and Mr. Bradley.
Bradley is the divorce attorney for Nathan Wade.
And the text messages go, Ms. Merchant says, "Do you think it started before she hired him?" Bradley, who we now know from Defense Exhibit 39, has been texting with Ms. Merchant for a number of months. This is not the first time. This is months within the communications between the two. Mr. Bradley says, absolutely. Now, absolutely is not a speculative word. That's not speculation. That's a definitive statement. And Bradley then, unprompted, says this. And unprompted is important. It started when she left the DA's office and was a judge in South Fulton. It goes on, Ms. Merchant says, she liked it started when she left the DA's office with the appropriate emoji or whatever one would call it to say it was liked. And then Mr. Bradley say they met at the municipal court CLE conference. Again, unprompted. He's now definitively telling Ms. Merchant when this relationship started. Ms. Merchant says, that's what I figured when he was married. And then Ms. Merchant says, and we're now talking about a couple hours later, she texts and says, upon information and relief, Willis and Wade met while both were serving as magistrate judges and began a romantic relationship at that time. And Mr. Bradley responds, no, municipal court. Thank you. Doesn't say it didn't start then. He doesn't suggest that she's wrong other than magistrate court municipal. Now we have that, and it's in evidence. And what does Bradley do? He knows that he's put himself in a position that if he testifies truthfully on the witness stand, Your Honor is in a position to be able to find, if you choose to, that both Willis and Wade lied. So what does Bradley do? Look, you were an assistant U.S. attorney. You know how this works when you have witnesses in this situation. Mr. Bradley did everything he could possibly do to evade answering questions. No recollection, couldn't remember, it was speculation. Anything he could possibly say that would cause, Your Honor, not to believe that Bradley knew when this relationship started. I suggest they were clear-cut lies, and the truth is in Defense Exhibit 26.
All right, so the judge heard all of this testimony. Both sides were making their final arguments today. He adjourned, I don't know, about 4:30 our time, and it said that he would try to have a final ruling in 2 weeks. Well, I mean, you know, even if he decides the case can go forward, it has been delayed quite a while, and it's going to be delayed at least another 2 weeks before it can proceed. But I don't think it can proceed, and I think the judge, you know, you pick up some things by listening to the judge's questions. Let me just say that this judge is a Democrat appointee, but I thought he was asking pretty good questions. I mean, this may be one of those rare cases we actually have a judge who's trying to play it up the middle. He knows people are watching, And he also knows, that the standard for an appearance of impropriety is fairly low in the state of Georgia. So I think he's probably thinking that they're going to have to be disqualified, and then the question becomes, can the trial go forward, or does it have to start over? And if you start over, then that's a big, huge win for Donald Trump. It pushes it back, it pushes it back, it pushes it back. So there you have all that. The Biden Department of Justice is seeking a July 8th start date for the Mar-a-Lago trial. This is about the classified documents. And Trump's lawyers had requested it be delayed until August 12th, but they say that you need to do that. So the question is, when will it start? And it looks like it might start around the 8th of July if the prosecutors have their way. That's again, you're not supposed to pick a time based on how it can harm a defendant politically. I mean, that's in the DOJ handbook. There are supposed to be rules about that. But the special prosecutor has apparently decided to pay no attention to that. This would be right about the time of the conventions, right? I think it would be. So there you go. That is happening as well as this whole thing starts to go. I mean, look, I don't think in the grand scheme of things that these trials mean one whit to people who like Donald Trump. If they like Donald Trump, they're going to continue to like Donald Trump. They're going to continue to support Donald Trump. Doesn't change anything. And if you don't like Donald Trump, then, it didn't matter anyhow. So I just think that, Donald Trump, when he said in a joking way that these folks are going to indict me right into the White House, he may have a point. People think that this is vindictive. This is the left turning the legal system into what they call lawfare instead of warfare, and going about it and being punitive in the way they carry out these trials, throwing every single thing they can throw at Donald Trump with the hopes that they can get something that sticks. But there is a rule at the Department of Justice that you don't conduct a trial like this really, really close to an election if the people are involved in the politics of the day, and certainly Donald Trump is. So will they follow that rule, or will they ignore that rule is the question. And the further these things get pushed back, the better it is for Donald Trump. And I think a couple of these cases are going to be pushed way back. And by the way, we're still waiting on decisions from the Supreme Court, which won't even be heard until April 22nd. I mean, then how long will it take the High Court to come up with a ruling? I don't know. But they don't generally move at warp speed over at the Supreme Court. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, this is the day that you can this is the second day of the 3-day big event over at Genesis Diamonds, where they're hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of hard-to-find Rolex models. All the hottest models that people have waited years for, carefully chosen timepieces, and they're all in pristine condition. And during this event, you can take advantage of a special pricing and 0% interest financing. Now listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at the event, Genesis will give you a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. That's a $4,000 value. And also for this event, Genesis pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site, offering top dollar for your Rolex so you can buy, sell, or trade. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in the state. Take advantage of special financing. Get a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. It's today and tomorrow only. Tomorrow's your best day. Try to get by there on Saturday. And only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
$25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. How you doing? You ready to get home, start your weekend? I am. I'm ready. I'm ready. You got it. All kinds of fun stuff going on, and we'll have, I think, fairly decent weather for the beginning of March. Okay. During our Fone Ur Farb Friday, this came up, and I wanted to spend a little more time talking about it if I could. A story about a reporter, an investigative reporter, working for the conservative news outlet Blaze Media, taken in custody by FBI on Friday for his reporting of the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021. Now, a lot of people looking at who are very concerned about the way that January 6 has been prosecuted, and I'm one of them, have been looking at this, and many people are upset about this reporter being taken into custody. And they said, was he an activist or was he a reporter? Was he truly a reporter? Look, this is a struggle that they have in Washington all the time, and trying to decide who's a reporter and who's not a reporter. Do I feel like there's been an overzealous prosecution of January 6 issues? Yes, absolutely, 1,000%. Do I feel like some of the people who broke into the Capitol that day Should have been charged? Yes, I do. I do, because they broke in, kicked in windows, kicked in doors, came into a building for which they did not have permission to enter. There's a process on Capitol Hill, and I worked there for a ton of years, and I'm very aware of the process. And you can't just walk in to the Capitol building. You just can't. It's a secure area. And so people who did that were in violation of the law. And so, I don't like the way they're being prosecuted, but they did not have permission to be there. At least that part of it, I think, was wrong. The fact that they were protesting and that they're being charged for, insurrection is a whole different matter. Trespassing, I think it's a pretty clear case. Yes, they should not have been there, and they didn't have permission to be there. People get mad at me if you want to, but I just believe that. Now, as for this reporter, the question really that needs to be answered is, was this reporter credentialed? If this reporter had proper credentials to be there, then it's an open and shut case, and it should not be prosecuted. My guess is the reason this person is being prosecuted is he entered the building without proper credentials. Now, I happen to know a tremendous amount about this credentialing process because I served not once but twice as the chairman of the Radio TV Correspondents Association on Capitol Hill. Long time ago, Congress decided that they didn't want to be in the business of trying to decide who was a journalist and who was not. And so they set up this process by which journalists would make that decision. If you served on the Radio TV Correspondents Association, and again, I was chairman twice, you made those calls because the politicians did not want to. And then you also worked because, when you are a reporter on Capitol Hill, you're covering somebody else's institution and it's their candy store. And, so we were always working for greater access within Capitol Hill. And I must say, I think during my time, we got some of that. But the question remains, did this person have a credential to be there or not? If they had a credential, then it's an open and shut case, and there should be no prosecution. If there is no credential, he did not have the permission to be in the building. Now, I understand freedom of the press and all that, but the freedom of the press in Washington, D.C. requires credentials. You have to be identified as someone that they identify as a journalist, and you have to have the proper credential to be there. There were many credentialed reporters inside the building who covered the event. None of them are being charged. So the question is, what's different about this person? And I suspect it is somebody who came in from the outside who did not have the proper credentials. Now, again, let me say, I think that the prosecution on January 6 cases has been overzealous in many, many ways, and that they have been abusive in that process. But I do also see that if this individual entered the building without the proper credentials, then they basically, at the very least, were indeed trespassing in a place they had no business being on that particular day. So we'll see what happens there. I know my opinion irritates a lot of people, but you just can't walk into a governmental building by kicking in the doors and deciding, okay, well, the doors are open now, I guess I'll just go in. It's not the way it works. Doesn't work that way anywhere. It's no different than people who kick in a door of a store and go in and loot the place. Same deal, in my estimation. 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, listen, I am very excited because I'm in the midst of my journey to lose some weight with the help from the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa of Lebanon. Now, it's true, I did lose a lot of weight last year, a lot of weight, but that was because I was going through some health issues. And when I started to feel better, and I do feel a lot better, my appetite returned, and so did the weight. It's starting to come back, and I really don't want it to get out of control. The truth is, I have never taken on a weight loss client before, but I really like the way that Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa approach this. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took the time to really look at my history, study my lifestyle, then customize a plan that best fit my needs. That's right, I'm going through a customized treatment plan. And I got a weigh-in coming up, and I'll be sharing how it's going in the days ahead. Well, why don't you do what I did? Set up an appointment to develop your customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. Be a part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your health overall, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest ideas in weight loss management. 615-470-8124. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It's 38 minutes past the hour. We're in the final throes of our Friday show. In 22 minutes, so we'll have the news, and then after that, we'll have Mark Levin, the great one. It'll be he's compelling. You don't want to miss Mark Levin. Hang around. He's not called the great one for no reason. He is a great one. I will say, every time I listen to Mark Levin, I walk away having learned something, and that completes my day because every day I try to learn something.
If you don't, you're a big dummy.
Yes, that's right. Yesterday, I learned that I should never wear that green hoodie again. All right, let's see. We got a lot of stuff to fill out here this last few minutes. So today, the President of the United States holds an event at the White House. Very serious event. You know, in Gaza, they put some food trucks went into Gaza, and apparently there was a rush on the food truck. And I read one story that said 100 people had been killed in the rush to get food. So they realized that's not going to work anymore. You can't do that. Apparently they're going to airdrop food into Gaza. But our president of the United States completely botched it. He was in a meeting with the prime minister of Italy and announced that the countries would provide airdrops of supply to Ukraine, not Gaza. He said it a couple of times. Yes, we're very excited about the airdrops into Ukraine, but it's Gaza, not Ukraine. Just another one of these gaffes. And I keep looking at this and I go, you hear these folks who are around Biden who keep saying things like the guy's as sharp as a tack. He's just as sharp as can be.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
This guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game. His mental acuity is great.
This is a very sharp president.
This is a man that's on his game.
But the slices, the small slices that we see of the president of the United States do not reveal a sharp individual as described by people who are supporters.
Anyway, and I don't want to maybe choose my words. I was just thinking.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay awake.
Anyway, I just look.
I can't even stand to listen to this. So how is it in the small sliver that we see of our president's day, we always see a screw up, a complete, mucking it up, and it's every single time we see him on the stage. He'll stick his foot in it in some way, or stumble, or again, raising questions. And how can it be that people who are around him say
President Biden is absolutely fit?
There's not a problem. He's sharp. He's fit. He's always answering questions.
How is that comport with what we see and just the minor time that we get to see him? In a president's day, and I remember having covered presidents, there would be days when you wouldn't see him at all. There would be days where you'd see him for a minute here or a minute there, where he'd be on camera. But you're getting a small sliver. The public is exposed to a small sliver of our president each and every day. The vast majority of his day, he's behind scenes. And if we see all of these gaffes in that little tiny sliver that we're able to watch, one wonders what's really going on behind the scenes. Who's really running the country? I don't believe them when they say things like,
is on the ball. He was sharper than anyone I've spoken to.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
Okay, I don't understand it. So here's another gaffe. Add this to the list of gaffes. At ABC News, medical correspondent was on The View. I watched The View, so you don't have to. Actually, I don't watch The View. I just read the stories about The View because I can't stand to watch it. If I were to watch one whole episode of The View, I would be throwing things through my TV by the time it was over. I just can't. But they had Dr. Jennifer Ashton on, who's the ABC chief medical correspondent. And she said that she doesn't think she could handle the rigors of the presidency as a 54-year-old woman, but said in looking at the medical reports that just came out on the president, that there were glaring omissions in the report that the public got to see. What we do is called a review of systems anytime we do a physical exam on someone. That includes not only just general neurological evaluation, but mental evaluation, a screening for depression or psychiatric illness, mental illness, anxiety, not in there. Cognitive exam, not in there. And then that irritating Joy Behar, the most irritating human being on all of television, tried to, rehabilitate what had been said. Well, the question is, can he do the job? And it looks like he can, said co-host Joy Behar, appearing to encourage Ashton to agree. Ashton wasn't having any of it. She said, I'm not his physician. But again, he does have a qualified physician, and it was a thorough report, but something is missing. Here is a person who's a medical expert, not going to throw her good reputation away by, jumping in and saying, no, he's fine. So, again, I wonder just how bad things really are behind the scenes, because what we see is pretty bad, and we don't see much. Carefully managed every step of the way, and still he screws up. The national debt. Listen, some financial news. The debt load of the U.S. is growing at a quicker clip in recent months, increasing, are you ready for this? About $1 trillion nearly every 100 days. Whew! The nation's debt permanently crossed over to $34 trillion on January 4th, after briefly crossing the mark on December 29th. According to data from the U.S. Department of Treasury, it reached $34 trillion on September 15th. It was at $32 trillion on June 15th, hitting this accelerated pace before the $1 trillion moves higher from the 31 trillion mark. It took about 8 months. Now it's about 100 days. Well, that's a little over 3 months. 3 months, we're accruing yet another $1 trillion. They just keep printing the money. They just keep printing the money. From Epic Times, aspiring homeowners say cost of living, inadequate incomes are the barriers to buying a house, according to a new survey. Most aspiring homeowners say the high cost of living and insufficient incomes are barriers to purchasing a home in the current real estate market. 51% of people who want to buy a residential property think the cost of living is too high, and 54% believe their income isn't high enough to cover a down payment or the closing costs for a home. Other reasons that people are unable to buy a home are the lack of financial assistance, 15%, student loan debt, 10%. It was a loan. You took out that loan. Sorry. I had one. I paid it off. Boy, what a chump I was. A fifth of prospective homeowners say they will never be able to save enough to purchase a home. Close to one-third, 30%, believe it will take 5 years, while 10% think it will take a decade or longer. Debt is a substantial hindrance in the home buying process, says Mark Hamrick, a senior economist analyst at Bankrate. For prospective home buyers, debt can be the financial equivalent of quicksand, suffocating capability and blocking entry over the threshold of a dream home. Here's another story. Listen to this. I thought this was pretty fascinating. In 2020, the question is, how much money do you need to be able to afford a home? In 2020, not that far ago, not that long ago, the U.S. median income was roughly $66,000, making home ownership a real financial possibility for more than half of American households. Today, you know what you have to be able to make to afford even an entry-level home? It has risen 80% to roughly $106,500. Wow. That exceeds the median household income, which has only grown 23% over the same period, to $81,000. Median household income has grown, and it's up, and it stands at $81,000, but it takes $106,000 a month to be able to afford an entry-level home. In other words, inflation and the cost of living have gone up so dramatically, and your salaries have gone up some, but not enough. You're working backwards. So in the Trump era, you could do this. A lot of people were doing it. But in this era, in the Bidenomic era, the cost of things have gone up so dramatically that you just can't afford it anymore. Now, what is causing things to go up? Data from real estate investing platforms showed that not even higher income earners, defined as the top 30, can comfortably afford to buy a home in larger U.S. metro areas, regardless of their age. By contrast, in 2001, the top 30% of our income earners could afford homes in these cities as early as the age of 24. Okay, 21. What happened in 21? What happened in 2021? Oh, yeah, we got a new president. Housing costs have soared over the past 4 years as drastic hikes in home prices, mortgage rates, and rent have far outpaced wage gains. High housing costs are driving Americans to seek out property in more affordable parts of the country. That's why so many people are moving. Currently, the typical home in the U.S. is worth about, typical U.S. home, Chris?
$250.
$344,000.
Wow, all right.
Now, of course, and right now the big problem is high interest rates. High interest rates are making it even more difficult. Man, I'm telling you, how's that Bidenomics working out for you, huh? It's 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. On From my friend Johnny Fleeman, who's the owner of Brass Lanterns and Legend Restaurants, now celebrating 35 years in Middle Tennessee. Listen, if you're thinking about getting something to eat on the way home, stop by a Brass Lantern or Legends restaurant near you. Now, this is Friday night, but they have other specials I want to tell you about. On Monday, it's chicken fingers with fries and coleslaw, $8.99. Tuesday, slow-cooked 8-ounce prime rib and a side, only $18.99. Wednesday, choice sirloin with a side, $8.99. Thursday, hamburger steak dinner for $8.99. Sundays, 3 pasta dinners, and it only costs you $9.99. You know, for 35 years, the Brass Lantern and Legends restaurants have given you authentic, made-from-scratch, delicious recipes at affordable prices. Good food at a reasonable price. That's what they're all about. So, listen, they also don't want you to forget the daily lunch specials, which start at $6.99. What a deal. Also, don't forget to pick up some of those delicious Johnny Fleeman products at your local grocery store. You're going to enjoy your next visit to the Brass Lantern and Legends restaurant nearest you.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.